Good morning. This is middle school lesson for April 3rd. This is going to be about who is Jesus, and this is our Easter series. So this is week 3 of our Easter series. And so to kick this off, we're in the middle of this great season of Easter. We're going to be getting together with family and friends. It's such a great time, and it's really great because it gives us a chance to really talk about Jesus and what he did and just who he was. So, in this, we're discovering a little bit more about who Jesus is and what he means to us. So, one of the things to think about as we get started is like the choices we make in life and how often so many of our choices are based on what's going to make our life better. We want things that will make our life better. We try to avoid things that we think will make our life worse. So, it helps us decide what sports to play or not play, who to hang out with, what to do, what clubs to join, what classes to take, all of those things. No matter what the decision it is, it always kind of comes back to the idea of, does this make my life better or does it make my life worse? And for us, we approach church and faith a lot of times in the same way. Is it going to be any fun? Is it going to make me happier? Will it end up being worth it? And will it make my life better? Those are things that we ask about faith. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And maybe we're not asking those things out loud, but maybe we've thought about them before. Like, is this really going to make my life better? Maybe sometimes you hear people talk about Jesus and like different stories of things that have happened to them and about how their faith has been life-changing. It's been mind-blowing. Knowing Jesus changes everything, all these things. And you hear these stories of people's life and how they like change in really good ways. Or maybe you have a story like that in your own life. And stories like that are great and amazing, but sometimes we still wonder, is that really possible? Like, how can following a guy who lived 2,000 years ago really change that much about my life? How can a religion with all these rules make life more fun and enjoyable? Does faith in God really make your life better? And it is totally okay to ask those questions. Questions are the way that we learn more and that we get to know Jesus more. So please be all about asking those questions. Today, we'll be addressing it. We're going to get talking about it. So we're going to look at it back at a time when Jesus was here on earth. And a couple of his followers wrote down what he did and what he said and what he taught. So we can still see what his ministry was like today, which is really great. So when we wonder what Jesus is like, we can look to their records to find our answers. In his teaching, he tended to use a lot of illustrations that were part of everyday life so that people could understand what he was talking about. And one of those illustrations was about a sheep and their shepherd. It was a concept that everyone in that culture would have understood. They saw shepherds taking care of sheep everywhere, nurturing their sheep, all of that. So they knew what a shepherd's job was to make sure that the sheep were safe. So in this illustration, Jesus referred to himself as the good shepherd. And who do we end up being in this picture? We are the sheep. And that means that Jesus takes care of us. He moves us where we need to go. He feeds us, helps us rest in safety. Very nice little image that he created. And in the middle of that teaching, though, there's this huge statement that seems a little out of place. He says, the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. And it's kind of a weird turn because we were just talking about sheep and now we're talking about thieves. So where's the connection there? Thieves were a huge problem back then. It was very much a real thing that someone might try to steal or hurt a shepherd's sheep. So this illustration would have made more sense to the audience at the time. And again, Jesus is talking about himself as the good shepherd. So as his followers, we are his sheep. So how is the thief even part of the conversation, right? But then if we look at how Jesus continues this, he says, I have come so that, right? He's showing the difference between himself and a thief. He's saying a thief shows up to steal, kill, and destroy, but I'm going to tell you why I showed up. You know what a thief is like, but that's not me. So this is Jesus talking more about him and who he is. So this is what the thief does. He steals, he kills, he destroys. But Jesus comes to give us life to the full. We think So sometimes I think this is the misconception that Jesus was trying to make sure that we didn't have. We think that Jesus is all about stealing our fun, right? And we think Jesus wants to kill our relationships, or we think that Jesus is going to destroy what it is that we really want. We think that Jesus wants us to make choices that are going to cause us to miss out on things, right? We worry that if we follow Jesus, some part of our lives will be stolen or killed or destroyed. We'll have to give up our dreams. We'll have to give away things that we want. We're going to miss out on friends or dating people or doing things that are super fun. We're going to have these boring lives trying to follow all these rules. But when it comes to Jesus, we might be tempted to think he wants to take something away from us. But this is why Jesus brought up this lesson. He's saying he's not coming to steal anything. He's coming so that we can have life and have it to the full. Jesus was saying, I didn't come to take anything away from your life. That's what a thief does. I'm not a thief. I'm here to make sure that you have life and that it's a very full, amazing life. So it isn't to have less of a life. It is to have more of a life. And that's so different than when many of us think, because somewhere along the line we get the idea that God wants to take away things that we want, but that's not actually true. Now, does that mean that we're going to get everything we want when we want it, or that everyone we like is going to like us back, that we're going to have a million friends? Probably not. Things are not going to be perfect. Does it mean we'll never get bored? Definitely not. Never get our feelings hurt? No. But it does mean that we will have more fun. And maybe you've never thought of it this way, but did you know that God invented fun? God created the part of your brain that lights up when you're having a blast, when you're having fun with your friends. Happiness and enjoyment were God's ideas. Jesus didn't come to take away those opportunities at all. He came so that we would have more joy. Joy that doesn't fall apart just because we're having a bad day. The goal is not less fun, it's more fun. He also came to give us better relationships. Jesus wants to help us discover what we want more in life, right? It means more than just giving us I'm like jumping ahead. It can actually help us in our relationships to find those better quality friendships. And it can also help us be that kind of friend for other people. So he's helping us with our relationships and making them stronger and better. He also wants to give us more of what we really want. Jesus wants us to help us discover what we want in life. And that might mean more than just giving us what we want right now, but like discovering like ultimately like our goals in the future, what we want. And things might not go exactly how we want them to all the time, but following Jesus leads us to more joy, more peace, more friends, more adventure, more fun, more of all that good stuff that makes life awesome. And then finally, also wise choices. This is a big one because choices can be really hard to make. How are you supposed to always know what's good for you, what's going to be the best, what's wise or helpful? And the good news is that Jesus wants to give us wisdom to make those choices. So he wants to help us choose what is good and wise and helpful in our life so that we can experience that life that is bigger and better because of it. And that's what Jesus was getting at in his message. He didn't come to steal or kill or destroy any part of our lives. He came to help us have real life. Following Jesus isn't going to make our life less. In fact, because of Jesus, we can have life to the full. So how does this work? What do we need to do? What are the steps? First, it's saying yes to Jesus. And this could be for the first time or maybe like just kind of a renewed, yeah, this is what I want. So if you thought that Jesus was angry or boring or had a ton of rules to follow, realizing that that's not the case and that he actually wants you to have this full life and he wants so many great, wonderful things for you, saying yes to Jesus, to following him, he's the person that will make our life so much better. Once we've said yes, many of us already have, another step is to say yes to what Jesus says yes to. And so once we're in a relationship with Jesus, if we are trying to find that full life, looking at what Jesus taught and what he did can help us follow him more closely. When we make those good decisions or decide to serve someone else, or we spend time getting to know more about Jesus, we do that because it makes things better for us and for others. And there are a lot of different ways to start to experience that, but one way is to serve someone. It's a really easy way to live that life to the full. Serving someone else makes their life better, but it also makes ours a whole lot better and happier and richer. Serving someone isn't like a no fun thing. It's like actually really fun and very fulfilling. So volunteering to work with kids, or help a sibling with homework, or help your parents with chores, or volunteering for a mission trip, like those things are great opportunities where we can live that life to the full by serving others. So overall, remember that because of Jesus, we can have life to the full. And people don't always talk about Jesus like that. Sometimes you make it, we hear these stories where it makes faith seem not fun at all. But that's not at all what it's like. Again, Jesus is going to make our life fuller and more fun and more wonderful. So one of the questions, before you can get to the questions and the details, one question to think about or discuss with your parents is, how can following Jesus make your life better? There's so many great ideas, so many great ways that following Jesus can make our lives better. So chat with your parents about that, and then there's some questions and the details that you can take a look at, and then we will be back for next week with week 4.